Have you heard about the 05100 experiment we did 2 years ago?
Yes,
Yeah,
Anna. I brought Ian Lake, Dr. Lake, to my
yeah.
channel. We talked about it, and that was fascinating. Right? Because there wasn't much difference in the participants, whether they were type 1 or non-diabetic.
Yeah, I took part in that, and I haven't got diabetes, but there was Ian. So I think there was two individuals with type 1 diabetes, one with type 2 diabetes. There was 8 of us in total, and so it was 5 days, 0 calories, so completely fasted, and we did 100 miles, and we were all
100 miles of
keto adapted
walking
before
or
starting. Uh, I mainly because I don't run anymore because my knees, and so I mainly walked. Just a very small amount of running, so I mainly walked it. But some of them ran the whole way. But it was absolutely fascinating, very positive experience. None of us felt ill at all, but we all were keto adapted at the forefront when we started. And I think that's important. We didn't just kind of go into it and do it. But I didn't feel hungry. I didn't feel tired. The recovery time was amazing because, 105 miles I actually did in 5 days, and I didn't have an ache or a pain at all. So, and what was interesting is I think I spent about a third of the time we were wearing CGM, and I think I spent a third of the time in what would be defined as hypoglycemia, blood glucose levels below 3.5. But I didn't have a single symptom of hypos at all. And I think that when you become established on a low carb or keto diet, blood glucose levels may be lower, and so it might become the norm for people who adopt that a dietary approach. But it's something that we've perhaps not explored before because it's, the CGMs are only just really being worn by people to experiment now. So I think we'll learn a lot more about that in the upcoming years.
that particular aspect was the most fascinating thing about the whole thing for me personally. And I hadn't realized it was you who were going at 3.4, and your mind was functioning absolutely properly, but physically you were in good shape. Because I often wonder about this myself. I have this discussion with my diabetes consultant as well, but it's above him. I don't think he understands fully, what happens in the human in the human physiology when someone is in ketosis. I don't think he has full understanding of it, but he's very receptive. So I was just telling him, he was telling me my CGM, I'm having too many hypos, so he needs to do something about it. Perhaps I need to reduce my insulin. And I told him, look, the hypos are like 3.9 because the Freestyle Libre registers at 3.9, which is actually 70 in American measurement, 70 milligrams over deciliters. 70 is barely a hypo. It's like 3.9 or 3.8, and I'm stable. I'm going at 3.8 all day long, and I'm in full capacity physically and mentally. I'm trying to argue my case, but I don't know how to argue my case. And eventually I give up because I don't think that's the same as perhaps, as crashing from a 16, which is like incredibly high, which is what I used to get before after a bowl of pasta, and crashing from 16 and hitting 6. And 6 is not hypoglycemic, but at 6, I would be completely shaking and craving food. And I would literally sit down and I'd be dizzy at 6. So it's not the same. These are different contexts.
It's the rate at which it reduces, which is a shock to the body. But if the normal physiological blood glucose range is between 3.5 and 7.8. And we've always used the safety margin of 4 in diagnosed diabetes. If people are on either insulin or the sulfonylureas for type 2 diabetes, because that safety margin of 4 is the floor, helps for people to treat if they're going, dropping quite quickly, to prevent them going down to an unsafe level if that insulin or the tablet is still working. But in people without diabetes, 3.5 is the lowest. And so, but in my experience of doing the experiment, the ZeroFive100, then I was getting blood glucose levels at 2 point something and feeling absolutely fine. And they were kind of quite stable around that level. And it didn't cause any cognitive impairment or anything. I was fine, absolutely fine. So it was amazing. It was fascinating study.
Perhaps we need to redefine hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia for someone who is on a ketogenic diet, because even hyperglycemia should be redefined, in my opinion, because the default, for example, on the Freestyle Libre, the CGM, the default is between 4 is the lowest, so anything below 4 you're having a hypo. So and the default goes up to 10. I don't want to get to 10. I mean, 10 is not normal. Staying between 4 and 10 for me is, I don't feel good at 10. So I've lowered my upper threshold to 6. Doesn't mean I'm 100% within, between 4 and 6. I go above and below. But at least most of the time, I'm in that tight range, or I try to be in that tight range. So for me, I'd be hyperglycemic if I'm 10, 11 all day long. I won't feel good at that level.
So yeah, it would be good if the CGMs could be, you could change them for different individuals. I got fed up of it alarming, especially it kept on alarming in the middle of the night, and that was impacting on sleep, which isn't great. So having a more personalized level would be good. And for different of people who are keto adapted, then I think blood glucose levels are lower.
Mm-hmm. I've put up public tweets, numerous tweets, asking them why they don't give that choice to the users, because I've been self-funding this for 6 years, up until very recently. But I'm paying out of pocket for something, and I would like it to cater for my personal needs, because it's not a cheap device. So but it just insists on classifying a 3.8 as a hypo, the same as a 1 or 1.2, but they are very, very different. So